when my husband did do your, we did the booty buster, I want to say.
Ooh,
yeah.
booty.
His butt looks amazing.
Booty boost.
The booty boost.
Booty boost.
I don't think he's ever pointed his toe in his life. And you were like, now point your toes. And he was like, And I was like, well,
People get really confused with that. Like, this is
his toe was like a hard unpoint. And I'm like, no, like the other way. And he works out, I mean, heavy weights at a gym, and he's ripped. And it was 22 minutes of heck for him.
And you guys did it together?
Yeah, and then it was funny because I just got up, grabbed the laptop, went back inside, took my little like curler thing out. And I came back, he's still out there. It was like 7 minutes later, and he's sitting on the lawn, Indian style, just like this. I was like, are you okay? I'm good. I was like, she killed you.
It's the men who, first of all, like if they see someone, like usually it's women doing it, and they're like, what the? And then when they join, it's such a rude awakening of like, don't judge.
Yep.
He
was like, these are just different muscles. I'm like, oh, they're very different.
Yeah, it's true.
It is. They're long and lean muscles.
Exactly.
They're smaller.
You're working your accessory muscles, and it's just,
yeah,
you're moving in such a different way. When you move slow, controlled, you really feel the burn.
Yes.
Sometimes the higher intensity, you don't even feel what you're doing.
And I noticed that as I was guiding him through your workout, it's like I had to, you're making assumptions that like a normal human would know, especially a woman. I had to remind him, okay, if you don't pull in your core, like you can't keep your leg up,
Right.
He's like, oh, so I think it's just interesting how women naturally kind of fit into that groove of like sucking in our core,
Connect to our bodies
connect. Yes. And we can balance. So, I mean, I'm very pregnant.
How
and I'm
pregnant are you?
like almost 8 months, I think. We had to count the other night. We both got our phones out. We were looking at our calendars. We're like, did we conceive? Okay, then how many? No, it'd be easier to count backwards from the due date.
That's probably what happens when you're on your fourth. You're like, how pregnant am I?
Yeah. we get interrupted by a screaming kid. I don't even know. I don't know.
I'm so honored that you did my workout with your husband.
Oh my
too.
gosh. Yes.
Well,
it was really sweet, actually. I thought we should do this more.
That's really nice. It's a great way to connect, to work out together.
Listen, your workouts have been amazing. I mean, I did back in like my husband calls it the Jake Jill days. We did Jillian Jacobs, maybe? Okay, he calls her Jake Jill. So anyway, but there was something about it that was a little bit aggressive for me personally, and so many people have benefited from so many different, online workouts. But it's like I rolled my ankle and then I was hurting. I do your workouts and I'm like, I feel like you're there with me and that I'm almost being spotted because your cues, and it's not just you. I mean, honestly, it's everyone. I mean, I've done a lot of them.
Oh, you have?
I've loved them. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
I mean, it's always like it's something I never tire of hearing, but it's so funny how every time, like, especially someone I admire, hearing that like, I'm just like, I still think to myself, like, I can't believe it.
I didn't know there was a prenatal section.
Yes, I was just going to say we have an entire, and we're launching a brand new
I had no idea. So I had all these messages, DMs coming in saying, do you just do her prenatal workouts? And I'm like, I didn't even know about them.
Well, you did a booty, which is...
I've been focusing a lot on lower and abs and...
Yeah, we have an entire prenatal, postnatal. We're launching a brand new addition to the prenatal.
Okay.
But there are a lot of the series that you, like a lot of the arm series, the booty series you can do. Obviously, you have to just listen to yourself.
Yes, exactly. I kind of just do whatever my body's telling me to do these days. So.
Well, that's the most important thing. That's what you have to do and not listen to everybody else.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about you because what you have built and what you've created is something I think every single person needs to have this awareness and this knowledge about, because there's just toxins in everything that people just don't know.
Exactly. I mean, my mom didn't know.
Right.
And it took me down a health journey that she would have never wanted for me. But through that pain came gain and such an awareness and just eye-opening experiences that led me to where I am now, which is really why we started Branch Basics. It's not a cleaning product company. We never set out to sell soap and make a bunch of money doing it ever. It's interesting. Like I'll go on podcasts and we'll do, learning series, like educational series and blog posts and newsletters, and we won't even mention our product because it's always been about educating people so that they can one day say, or prevent them from one day saying, why didn't someone tell me this? Like, why? It's so simple, and it can feel overwhelming, like, oh my goodness, there's toxins everywhere. How do you live this way? It's like, well, no, this is actually an opportunity, and we have so much control over our health and over our future. We're not victims of our genes, and that's what I grew up thinking. Well, what did my grandfather have? What did my mom have? Okay, well, I guess I kind of have this, or this is the hand that I was dealt.
Right.
I just don't think that anymore. I don't have fears about my health because pretty much every disease can be linked back to some sort of exposure. I mean, our genetics loads the gun. Environment pulls the trigger. I mean, you know this. Mental battles and physical and everything.
So at what point in your life when you were sick, and if you don't mind sharing, just what was going on with you led you on this path of really just, I think, getting curious about what was going on, I'm sure.
Yes. I mean, I wish I could say I was smart enough to be curious. It almost took just like someone coming and hitting me alongside the head, and that's when God dropped my guardian angel, Marilee, my aunt and co-founder, into my life. But up until then, so I was in college when she came into my life and really opened my eyes. But up until then, it had been just a series of things that I never even thought were connected. Ranging from, wasn't having my period at all. And so I went to a fertility specialist and grew up in Houston, Texas. He told me, you have the worst case of PCOS I've ever seen. You have cysts all over your ovaries. Here's birth control. There's really nothing that we can do about this. It was just 2002 and 3. And so we knew nothing back then about the lifestyle connection with PCOS and things like endometriosis and things. But, I just took that, identified with being the person that would not be able to conceive naturally. I took the birth control. I mean, if you had a white coat, it was like the conversation's done, I like your white coat, though. As I said that.
Just you give power over to,
Yes, absolutely. And to some extent, we need to. That's great. And there's doctors have an absolute place. But I think when it comes to chronic illness and it comes to fertility issues, we really have to look around. We have to look at our diet. We have to look at our home. And the fact that I then went to college, came down with this mysterious pain that, started me off at PT and Rolfing and acupuncture, but then I'm traveling the country. I'm on antidepressants and muscle relaxers and painkillers, and doctors are saying this kind of resembles MS, but we're not seeing the markers. And that's when I'm just losing hope. And I'm thinking like, gosh, I mean, this is my hand. This is the hand I've been dealt, So then Marilee comes along and she says, listen, healing is about looking at the barriers and getting them out of the way and allowing your body to run in the direction that it knows to go in, which is to restore and to rejuvenate. And it's not about saying, this is what you have, and this is the treatment, the plan, the drug, the surgery that we can use to fix it. Because you're in the end, you're putting a Band-Aid on it. And I'm not saying I didn't need those drugs during that time. I'm not saying people shouldn't be on them or shouldn't have the treatments or the surgeries. But in tandem, if you really want to get to the source and you really want to experience true healing, mentally and physically, you're going to look at your diet and you're going to look at your home. Because, I mean, and it's both. It's both. I mean, you can't do a juice cleanse and then go home and sleep on a pillow that has dryer sheets and have the exterminator come the next day and expect your liver to be cleansed, And so Marilee came into the picture and she's explaining this idea of how our bodies have, these microdose exposures our whole lives, and we have this maladaptation. And so we can say, oh gosh, I've been using these products my entire life, or I've been eating this way my whole life, or everyone else around me does this. I've been fine. They've been fine. Who are you to say that this is bad? But I was in such a place of just needing there to be hope for my body. It was crumbling. And the fact that she brought in this idea that I could do something, and that I had been to all these doctors and not one of them asked to see my diet diary. Not one of them asked if I had been exposed to mold or a pesticide or what products I was using, right? That's just not what they're taught.
I know.
and they don't have time. They don't have the capacity for that. But gosh, you kind of want to shake the healthcare providers and say, listen, this could expedite whatever treatment you're currently doing. So it was then that I really woke up, and I'm looking at my Splenda that I thought was so healthy, my 100-calorie packs. Instead of looking at the calories, I'm now looking at the ingredient list. I mean, what an amazing idea that we would look at the ingredients in something. And I think it was then that I realized, I'm 21, that I don't think I'd gone an entire day my whole life and eaten real food. I mean, from soy formula to conventional eggs to packaged foods and Nighthawks and whatever we grew up on,
I know.
So I was able to really cut down on my doses of drugs in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks. I'm living in college, and I'm getting rid of my Windex and my dryer sheets and, like I said, the artificial sweeteners. And I noticed a shift. And Kelly, who's my other co-founder and best friend, was my roommate at the time. And we're both like, what? These products are affecting our health? It was just the most mind-boggling, so simple.
I know.
I didn't even care about the Windex. I'm like, why didn't someone tell me this? I don't care about my Windex.
Right.
I mean, this could have been causing the hydrocodone dose that I had to be on. And so as graduation approached from college, we decided to go live with Marilee in the hill country in Texas. And that's when our lives completely changed. And essentially when we started the company, because we get out there, and you'll appreciate this. This is when Marilee comes up to us the first morning, and she says, have you guys ever had juice? And we're like, yes, like we love orange juice. It's so great. She's like, no, I'm talking like carrots and beets and kale and ginger. I didn't even know that those things, that you could get juice from that thing, I'm like, she's like showing me a juicer. I mean, this was just 2008. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, right?
Right.
And so that summer we chopped our food. We ate real food. We were off of our phones. We were grounding. We were living in a home completely free of toxic fragrances that I later found out were probably one of the biggest culprits for all the endocrine issues I'd had. I had body odor at like 8 years old. My mom was like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I look back, I'm like, it's all the scented candles and all the different endocrine disrupting things that we're bringing in our home.
The scented plugins.
All the things. Now they have scented tampons and toilet paper and stickers and shoes.
No,
I mean,
can't.
Even for like Eleanor's
clothing.
age, the silicone shoes that they're selling all the kids.
Those have to go, right?
Gosh, well, I mean, so many of them get impregnated with these scents, and then you put them on a kid's feet. They're sweating all summer, and then you have these scents just coming up. Not regular silicone shoes. I'm talking about the ones that, the brand that they add the scent.
Yeah.
It's like a cherry something.
No, when clothes, like, because people send so many things.
Yes. And when you open the box.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's targeted at kids, which is just so crazy. But I will say, so after living with Marilee for 7 weeks, I was off all of my prescription drugs. I had mental breakthrough. I was just clear-minded. I mean, my skin, those are the superficial things, but I didn't have this chronic pain anymore. I was a whole new person. And I was on fire. And Kelly, who had just come with me thinking, oh, this will be fun. My best friend's doing this and I want to learn. And she was, we say you have to either be sick or smart. And she was definitely the smart one that just wanted to have preventative health care, But she no longer had menstrual cramps and dry eyes and body odor. It just left. It hasn't since. And so it was just so transformative for us to experience what we call the power of pure. But I have to say with Marilee, she didn't just get there. Now she's in her mid-70s, and she's been consulting for almost 40 years. But she came to this point because she had 2 events in her life, one in her 20s and one again in her 30s, that opened her mind to the idea of true healing. So the first, she avoided a kidney transplant using food as medicine. You would love Marilee.
Oh,
she ran a macrobiotic resort in Jamaica for years. Like, she's just a rock star. Still
Mona
doesn't have a cell phone. She's just amazing. But everyone finds her. I'm like, how do you even find this woman? How do you have a waiting list and you have a phone? So that really opened her eyes to the power of food. She was able to avoid dialysis, and she had been super sickly her whole life. So she's all into healthy, diet and medicinal and super specific for people's needs. And she would consult people all over the country. But then it wasn't until my first cousin, her son, was exposed to chlordane, which is a now banned pesticide. He was 10 years old at school, and he went from brilliant and obedient and athletic to being picked up from school with a blue tongue and swollen lymph nodes, could not walk a straight line, spell a 3-letter word, just basically was autistic. I mean, and so she took him to this top poison control doctor who said, he's basically a bubble boy. He will not recover. This is before we understood about how the brain can regenerate. And he needs 16 shots a day, put him in a safe room and remove everything in the room because he's so reactive. His brain is so severely damaged. And she had this kind of fire like raise up in her and basically said, with all due respect, I'm so glad you're not God because my son will heal. And she left that day and went home, and there was no internet. There's no resource for her, but she thought, what is it that is keeping his body? What is it that I can do to assist his body to regenerate and to heal? And what is it in a home that's keeping him so reactive? Because he was so reactive. I mean, you could bring a bag in from Target and he would be on the floor, lymph nodes swollen right in front of you because he was so reactive in the parts per billion, million, trillion level. He was a canary in the coal mine, you know? So they're laying out in a cot one day because they had to stay outside. She has this aha moment. She thinks, okay, I thought I got all my products out, but I have this one box and it was behind a little closet door. And she thought, this is crazy. I'm not even going to tell my husband and son, but I'm going to remove the box. And it was her favorite perfumes and lotions. And sure enough, the next day he comes in and he's like, Mom, what'd you do? And she's like, nothing. He's like, I'm not reacting. He could usually only stay in the house for about 7 to 10 minutes. And he wasn't irritated. He wasn't feeling agitated. I mean, he knew when he was in a reactive spot. In fact, you could speak to him in a normal voice and it would feel like you're screaming. So you'd have to whisper because he, again, just so much neurological damage. And that was really the crux of his healing. And that was the turning point. And he was able to stay inside the house then. And it took 7 years for him to recover. But she said, had I known about the tiny amount of toxins that were affecting him, that I thought, not a big deal.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I don't even smell this. This can't really be doing anything. She's like, had I known that in the beginning, his healing would have been so much quicker. So he fully recovered. He was the first homeschool child to get into the Naval Academy.
Wow.
He has 3 kids.
What was
so
the
really
chemical
amazing.
that he was exposed to? And you said it was in the
It's
school?
called chloridane, and it was
that
banned.
found?
It's an organophosphate pesticide. And they had sprayed it the night before, and the kids were in the auditorium, and it rained, and it had come up through the auditorium floor, and he was on the floor. So there were other kids exposed as well. Oh. But basically, it was a poisoning, pesticide poisoning. So chloridane, sadly, is one of those pesticides that has a really long half-life, and it's still found in many homes today, especially where I live, where people spray all the time. And yeah. So, again, it's about just awareness. And those 2 events, it was first food and then environment, allowed her to have the knowledge to help so many people. Because again, so many people think of one thing, but they're missing this environmental piece. And it's kind of the invisible toxin when you think about the environment. We can do all these clean things. We know exercising is good. We know it's better to eat clean food. Those are obvious, but so many people are still using their laundry products and their scented products and their tampons and their colognes, and they're collecting all the shampoos from the hotels. And, and we just don't think twice about it. And we wonder, gosh, like, could the things that I'm not even using, the things that are stored under the counter, like, could those be affecting my system? I mean, studies show 1 drop in an Olympic-sized pool is enough to throw off the entire hormonal system. So even the products we're not using that are stored for years, and we've since switched over to other things, but they're still in our home, creating this low-level chemical soup. Could that be affecting my baby? Could that be causing a developmental delay or an irritability or fatigue or cramps, So it's eye-opening.
It's so eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I think just it's one of those things that we're sold.
Yeah.
All the things.
Yeah.
And it's usually the high-end brands.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The luxury brands.
Isn't that interesting?
It's
I can't tell you how many times people say, oh, but this is a really nice brand from blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but have you read the ingredients?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, you feel this massive movement.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about like even Mona and Sabrina, and it's like we're all really waking up to just the simple fact of the things that you, like you said, you're not even mindfully conscious of that are in your home.
Right.
But I feel like we really have to dive in deep to what it is, because people like, you created an entire brand and you don't call it a cleaning brand.
Yeah, it's more of a wellness education company.
Because you can also use, I mean, some of the girls, we're all huge fans, said that they use it to wash their vegetables. Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, literally, I spray my baby's private areas instead of using with a dry wipe and then Branch Basics. I mean, instead of using wet wipes, we wash all of our produce. I get my eye makeup off with the all-purpose.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't really measure, so I always just say I use Branch Basics. I mean, I'm kind of like with the eye makeup, sometimes I'll just get the concentrate and do that, and then I'm like, okay, I'll just get whatever.
I need a new eye makeup remover, and there's no natural, like, clean.
Yes.
Let's talk about the difference.
Well, and you can also just use oil, like, because I do oil cleansing. Sometimes I'll just get my oil and I'll,
Right, but then I find, like, my makeup runs.
Yes.
And then I want to talk about I want to talk about every single thing.
All the
things. Even myself, it's like, I know a lot, but I still don't know a lot.
Yeah.
And being able to think about what your pillows are made of, what your mattress is made of, what your blankets and your sheets.
It's the daily things too, Melissa. Like, that's where I tell people to start. It's like, start with the biggest offenders, so like pesticides in your laundry room, and get the synthetic fragrances out. But then after that, like, think about the things you do every single day.
So moisturizers.
Yes. And just don't worry about the things we can't control when we leave our home and what we're exposed to. But think about your home. Think about how many the people you love most inside this home, and the things that you really don't need. Like I said, I mentioned the Windex. Like, they're not, I guess a lot of people probably listening don't use Windex anymore, but there's products out there that we just don't even think twice about, and we just think are healthy, and it's just like robotically grabbing them and throwing them in our cart. And if we knew better, like, when we know better, we do better, and we do better, we feel better. And so a lot of these things are really low-hanging fruit, and it's a finite process. Like, once you find clean products, like, I don't spend my days thinking, okay, wait, is this clean? Is this clean? I'm like, no, my house is clean. These are the products I use. Branch Basics does make it really easy. But as far as makeup, we just came out with a whole new vetted, an article that vetted all the top makeup brands. But now that I know them,
where is that?
I'm like, okay, let's do it. Just on our website, I'll send it to you. But and like OGE is the new OGEE, has like these new complexion sticks. I'm like, oh, they're clean, great. Threw them in my cart. I have, so it's not hard. Changing your diet is hard. It is. I mean, that's a decision you have to make every single day. Do I eat this snack? Do I not? But getting rid of scents and changing cleaning products and finding alternatives to the exterminator, it's not hard. Because when you look at how these products are affecting our brain and our children, and are directly linked to neurodegenerative diseases and cancer, those things are hard.
The endocrine system, and forget it with fertility.
Right, exactly. And speaking of, I didn't even finish my story.
I was going to say, because here you are.
Yeah, here I am. And so several months after I left Marilee's, and of course, one of the first things she told me is, you have to get off birth control. That is not part of my plan for you to come to my house. And it's all synthetic estrogen. I want you off. I want your body to rebalance. Because again, birth control, no shame even if people are on it that are listening, but it is a Band-Aid. It just is. And it's not allowing our endocrine system, our hormonal system to balance. It's almost more of like a hijack. Yeah. And so it took, I went back to the fertility doctor that I had been to, 4 or 5 years previously, and I had virtually no cysts. I mean, he was too busy to see me that day, understandably. He's very popular in Houston. And so his nurse practitioner did a quick sonogram, and he comes running in with the before and after. And he said, "What'd you do?" And I was like, "Actually, didn't really do anything you told me." I was like, I kind of just got rid of all my toxins. And he's like, "Can you come speak? We're going to do a PCOS support group." I mean, at that point, and now he has a whole lifestyle wing to his company. And his nurse practitioner has since reached out to me and apologized that she told me that I could never get pregnant. She didn't know. She's precious. And we've all learned so much since then. But we've had lunch together, and It's really a very sweet story. And so a few years later, I woke up one morning and I had my period. It was like better than our wedding day. I was screaming in the bathroom. And he's like, what? I was like, it came, because that's what happens. Like, we don't actually need to our reproductive system. I mean, it is there to give life to the next generation. And it's one of the first things to shut down when our body's in distress. And it's one of the last things to turn back on because I really do believe God gives us a measure of protection when our body isn't ready to build new life and we need to focus on ourselves. And absolutely nothing against fertility treatments, but they just weren't for me. And I knew that my body could do this. And I knew that when it was time, it was going to turn back on, and it did. And I mean, I had no cramps. I had almost a perfect cycle. We've tried 3 times and gotten pregnant 4 times. It works really well.
That's amazing.
That's when I thought, okay, like I have to open people's eyes to this because there's so much power here. And, we're told, oh, PCOS, endometriosis, there's nothing we can do about it. There's so much we can do. So
I agree. And I think the more that you even read these articles about these insane stories and these testimonials of people who have stopped using toxic chemicals and how they've gotten pregnant too, naturally, which is something that you're told is nearly impossible.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard to draw connections. You can be exposed to the same toxin as the next person or as everyone else in your family, and the symptoms that manifest could be completely different. You could have 5 siblings, and one's having eczema as a baby and no one else is. One's having some developmental delays or behavioral issues. One has no symptoms at all, and then maybe in their 40s or 50s, there's an autoimmune thing pop up. We all have different constitutions. Our genetics absolutely plays a part, but there is a threshold in which our adaptation and our resiliency is reached, and there's a tipping point, and there just is. We can't get around that. And so it's not usually the acute exposures that get us. It's the chronic microdoses.
And the things that you think you're just completely unaware of.
Right. And what's beautiful about our bodies and the way that God made them is that we can heal so easily. I mean, studies show that when you switch to a mostly, not even an all, but a mostly organic diet, 90% of the circulating pesticides in your body are gone within 3 to 5 days. I mean, so you have 2 sets of chemicals. You have persistent and non-persistent. And so the non-persistent are PFOS are the persistent, but non-persistent are more like BPA and phthalates and parabens and the things that, pesticides that we're exposed to that once they're removed will so quickly dump through our urine and our sweat and even just in breathing. And then we have more of the persistent ones, which are the Teflon and the stain-resistant things, the PFOS, and those take longer. But it's really amazing. I want people to understand that we really do have the ability to heal and to detox at a pretty quick speed. We recently did a project we call the 10-day stay. And we have taken people out of their environment and we put them in a hotel in Austin, Texas. And we've cleaned the hotel using all branch basics. We took away their clothes. We gave them all new organic clothes because you just never know. Their dryers and washing machines could be contaminated. Gave them all organic food. This is 10 days. We took their urine on day 0. We took their urine on day 10. So my nanny was the first person I took through this. She was 24 when this happened and she kept getting sick. And I was like, Victoria, I'm stealing you away, and we're doing this project, and we just made it happen. It was very grassroots. This was about a year ago. We've done a few since then. In fact, we're hosting one currently right now in Texas.
Wow.
But within 10 days, her methylparaben went down 98%. Her BPA went down 72%. Her glyphosate, which is basically Roundup, went down, I want to say it was about 75%.
That's what they spray the crops
Yes,
with.
Exactly. So this is 10 days, guys. I mean, and that is just their body dumping. I mean, since then, she was like, I didn't even know I had anxiety. And I'm a new person. She can run. She used to not be able to go upstairs without her chest hurting. And this has been almost a year, and those 10 days completely changed her life. I mean, her skin, the before and afters are just crazy.
I live for stories like this because it's crazy when I think back to what really led me into the wellness space was I was covered in acne.
Yeah.
And the first
that was my thing too.
You were?
Yeah. Accutane, 2 rounds in high school.
Same.
Killed my liver.
My mom, forget it. Don't even talk about the way that I felt.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It made me feel
psycho.
Insane.
Yeah.
Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was so depressed.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, and then the birth control they put you on just in case.
Oh, yeah. No,
you know, so like, let me
things.
just dump that in too.
Oh, I was on all the things, using every topical. Nothing worked. And that was when, well, first for me, it was like, I knew I had to get my mind right because I was in such a bad, unstable place, and knew that just like getting on more medication, it didn't feel like the answer.
Yeah.
That was when I like took a weekend retreat, started meditating, and then through that just felt this deep inner calling of like, I have to really look at everything. And that was when I started like paying attention to like what was on my plate and thinking about how it got there and
versus calories and versus
none
working,
of that shit.
You know, all that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like that is just not. I used to live that way.
Same. I looked great.
I
felt horrible.
Same.
You know?
Exactly.
Birth control and Accutane kind of cleared up my skin. Like I was thin. I mean, but I was a mental mess. I felt bad. Yeah.
It never really cleared me up.
Really?
But then they wanted to put me on a second round.
Yeah.
Which led me to, well, then I saw every top dermatologist who proceeded to tell me how horrible my skin was. And it was just like, I was like, there has to be another answer.
Acne's so hard. People that have never had acne do not understand. It plays games big time with your head.
It rips your confidence.
It does.
To shreds. I mean, I cried every day. Well, it's just like, it's
hard.
Your face.
Yes.
It's hard to move past that. But then you have to get to the point where you start to like love and accept yourself.
No matter what, through the journey. Well, and now just in the space that I'm in, I see people that have some skin breakouts and I'm like, oh, I love this. They're probably cleansing and getting stuff. I mean, you know, your skin doesn't tell the full story because nowadays you can take tons of drugs and just cover up the fact that your body has all these issues. But when you're doing, you know, a lot of gut work and stuff, like my skin has flared again since then. I'm like, no, this stuff's coming out, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not as simple as, okay, this person is healthy and has wonderful skin because what my eyes see is beautiful skin.
Yeah.
You know, there's a deeper story.
There's a deeper story.
Yeah.
But that was when I had to take that like microscopic lens and like really pay. And then I moved to the makeup. I was using all top brands, all high-end luxury beauty brands.
Yeah.
Don't want to name names. But I stopped using those because I worked in...
You worked at the Chanel counter,
I worked
right?
I worked in the beauty business.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I was like caking it on. Plus I was trying to cover the acne. So it just was building and building. But then I shifted to non-toxic products.
Yeah.
And it was like... everything started to change. But it was like the food, the
I was going to say, and your diet. I mean, it's, you know.
Right. But like, I didn't even really go deeper until I started understanding more about like, oh, I'm washing my pillowcase in this fragranced detergent. And then I'm laying, and then like it was like those were the
crazy?
things.
I was just reading a study about, I'm not naming names, but one of the top non-toxic
but like
cleaning
don't we
brands.
Want to in a way? I'm just like, this is bullshit that we're allowed to be exposed to this shit.
You're right. No, that is true.
Because it pisses me off.
Well, I'm going to say this part.
Go.
You ready for this? Free and clear pisses me off. But really, it is not. I mean, not only do they say unscented, which unscented is run. Okay, you need to see fragrance free because unscented usually means there's masking agents that are covering the scent.
No.
So when you see unscented, just think no. It's like seeing vegetarian fed eggs. I'm like, chickens are supposed to not eat vegetables, are supposed to eat worms. So I don't know, just run away. But I was recently reading about how Free and Clear actually contains certain ingredients that will strip the oil in your skin. So people that are, I was reading on this website, they did some study where they said people who have acne should really stay away from products like this with certain ingredients. I think it's SLS is one of them because it can strip your skin and actually create the oil imbalance, which then makes, leads to more acne. But I thought, gosh, I think of all the people who have skin struggles and are going to spend the extra money to use a product like Free and Clear, which is a little more expensive and cleaner and better. And I'm like, gosh, no wonder we're such a confused consumer, right?
The most confused.
Yes.
And by the way, SLS is in a ton of toothpaste.
Tons.
And when I stopped using that and I stopped breaking out around my mouth.
Really?
Yes. Like I always make sure there's
Interesting. Toothpaste is a tough one. I will say it's a really hard
sulfate,
one.
Right?
Yeah, sodium lauryl sulfate. Yes, and there's carrageenan in toothpaste now, and
a lot of natural. So can you talk a little bit about natural?
Yeah,
because I also feel like we're just being fed a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, the deal is there's 84,000 chemicals that are registered today. Less than 1% are tested for safety. Terms like natural, even non-toxic, are not regulated. So the beauty product and skincare industry, at the very least, is required to list their ingredients, but the cleaning product industry doesn't even have to list their ingredients. So it's essentially an unregulated industry, yet it's products that we are basically consuming if we use it in our dishwasher, and inhaling every single day. You think about the cleaning people that are truly right there inhaling things. And it's about really empowering people to understand that when we see, warning or caution or danger, these are actually EPA signal words that are required, actually, thank you, to be put on a cleaning product. If you see those, toss your cleaning product. If you see a cleaning product without any ingredients, toss it, because there's something that's being hidden. And just because it says all natural or even non-toxic, flip our concentrate around. Look at the ingredients. You can go to the EWG. Yeah, here it is.
I brought it because I was like, also like, even because you read words like, I don't know, help me here, the diesel glucoside.
Decoglucoside.
Because you're like, what is that?
Yeah, and actually that doesn't sound very clean.
No, it doesn't. That's why I was like,
No, and so I will say, within beauty, I think it's a lot easier to say, you could be able to pronounce all the ingredients, and that makes it safe.
I disagree.
Yeah, really? Even within beauty?
I think, well, no, I mean, like even this one. Because
so
I
within
feel like,
cleaning, I don't think that really applies.
Got it.
Yeah, because you can have some that sound really inert and then it's not, but like decoglucoside is like a 1 on a Skin Deep database, and it's a gentle surfactant. So, we tell people to go to the Skin Deep database, and I'm talking even as you're vetting your cleaning products. EWG has a skin section.
Can you say what EWG is so people know?
Yes, Environmental Working Group. So sorry. And you can put each ingredient in to the search bar, super easy, and it will pull up between a 1 and a 10. So we always tell people if there's anything 3 and above, just toss it out.
Let it go.
And it's not the same as just putting a product in the search bar and saying, what is this? Because a lot of times they're going to come back with, that product could have a 1.6 and a bunch of 1s. And so they're like going to kind of average it out. And the new toxicology model shows, it's called epigenetics. And it's showing that even in very small amounts, these chemicals are able to turn on and off genetic expression. So we always tell people, it's not about dose makes the poison. Start at the very end of your ingredient list. That's like one of the best hacks. Because usually that's the most toxic. It's the smallest amount, but it's one of those especially if it's a product you're using every single day. And again, this sounds, kind of tedious. You can go to our website, and we've done tons of this work for you, but you can do your own research. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a chemist. And once you choose a safe product, it's done, So
you're saying to look at the last ingredient first?
Yes.
I've always thought it was the first ingredient is
when
the most
you're
potent.
vetting them, it is. But when you're vetting them, they usually put the most toxic ones at the end. And so to go ahead and rule out a product, you're going to find the most 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s are going to be put at the end. They're the smallest amount. Usually it's a preservative or a pesticide. Or actually they're kind of both. So you have a lot of cleaning products that use methyl isothiazolone or benzalkonium chloride. These are preservatives that are used in super small amounts that have still been shown to cause eye, lung, and skin irritation, but they're at the very end of the ingredient list. So we think, oh, it's fine.
Right.
But if you put those into the EWG database, you'll see It's not. And they can be everything from carcinogenic to a skin irritation, but when you have a child that has chronic eczema and you've seen all these doctors and you never think twice because you're using a non-toxic cleaning product.
But they're also giving you like a Vino.
I know.
Can I say that?
I'm
sorry, but like
and CeraVe.
But like,
I know.
It's just like we think we're doing, or Aquaphor.
I don't know. Which is
can
petroleum,
you explain
basically.
what?
Yeah, you're basically
why is that bad?
Putting petroleum on your body. And again, I mean, I know people who are really struggling with their skin, and some of the only products that will help ease the irritation are some of the ones we just listed.
Right.
So no shame.
True.
But don't settle. Figure out why.
But also know that that's not the end all.
It's
right? Not. Like you said, like when someone shows up in a white coat, listen.
Exactly.
But then also like
question.
Yes.
Do some research.
Be your own advocate.
Yes. And look at all the other things that are going into your child's body, whoever's dealing with the issue. It's not ever your skin, for instance, is they call it the third kidney. I mean, right. It is a sounding an alarm. And when we're putting products on our body, like the ones we just talked about, we're basically taking the batteries out of the fire alarm. Like, let's find the fire,
Put that motherfucker out.
Yeah.
It gets me so angry.
I know.
I'm just like, how is this approved?
I know.
Like,
on babies, newborns.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to say.
Yeah.
Because, right, it's like the baby product industry. Like,
don't get me
fed
started.
all the things.
Don't get me started. They're not little humans. They are their own creatures. They breathe more air. They actually have more skin. They drink more water, and they eat more food pound for pound than we do. And their detoxification system is not yet fully developed. And so the decisions that we make on behalf of, and they don't have any decision-making power,
I mean,
So I look and I'm thinking, and again, when we know better, we do better. And this is no shame at all. But once we're aware, like let's advocate for our babies.
Are you okay sharing brands that you like, that you use?
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to like a baby care product?
Yeah.
Like what would you use?
I mean, honestly, we've only used Branch Basics on our babies. We've never dealt with a diaper rash or anything like that. And I will say with my oldest, we dealt with eczema, and my mind was spinning the whole time. I thought, this isn't a skin issue. There's something else going on. As soon as we did genetic testing, we found out she has double MTHFR gene. She just doesn't process certain foods.
She doesn't methylate.
Yeah, she doesn't methylate well. And so once we got to the real bottom of it, I mean, we had mold. We did a urinalysis, and she had high levels of mold. Her eczema completely, and I mean, it was bad, actually. It was really bad. But I can't tell you how many people I went to that said, here's this cortisone cream, or here's that, or here's that. And I just thought, I need to do some functional labs on this kid, because this isn't the issue. And sure, when she's bleeding and up at night and stuff, and I need to use something, like I resorted to something it was the last resort, but I did. And so I feel the pain of people who are listening, who are really trying to do their best, but I'm really encouraging people to always question, keep digging, and don't give up as you're taking the medication or administering it to your kid.
100%. And it's like, to get the functional labs is so expensive.
It is.
Like,
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
It's so hard.
I just did it with one of my children, and I like the process.
I know.
And I'm like, we have to do another round. Like, I'm just like, but it's revealing so many things. It
is. And it can change the course of their life. It can change the next generation. But you're right, Melissa, and it makes me so sad that it is so easy to go get a drug. It's so easy to have a treatment, and insurance usually pays for it. Right. And then here we are wanting to get to the bottom of something, and we're having to spend tons of money on it. But this is why we always say, first start with your diet and your home. Don't go run to a functional lab if you are still eating a bunch of processed foods.
Right.
And still using toxic products. I mean, that is free medicine. You should have a home completely clean and a diet as completely clean as possible if there is a health issue that is leading you to a functional medicine doctor. And then go get the functional labs.
So cutting out, like, trying to eat more organic produce.
Yes.
If you can't afford organic.
Dirty Dozen at least.
Dirty Dozen.
Yes.
Exactly.
And meat and dairy. And
that's like everything with a peel. So that's like bananas, avocados, pineapple, because it has that protective layer.
Exactly. And the especially for children, people say, oh, does organic really matter? It really does matter because yes, there's still a certain amount of pesticide residue on organic food, but they're not allowed to use organophosphates. And organophosphates are what are causing long-term behavioral, neurological, carcinogenic effects in our children. And like I said a little bit earlier, if we will just remove those organophosphates from the diet, especially with the Dirty Dozen, within a few days, they're significantly dropped in our kids. So our kids are super resilient. So I never want to leave people thinking, oh gosh, if I messed up my kid or I haven't been doing that, like they bounce back so quickly.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I feel like listening to you, it brings up a lot, right? It makes you angry and then you're like nervous. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like what else?
I know.
And it drops you into like that fear-based mindset.
Yep. Which is toxic.
Which is,
right?
Okay.
So we always tell people,
No, but that's what I wanted to say because I feel as if, I know for myself and even like having so many friends in this space who really care and want to make a difference. Yeah. But it's like sometimes it can become so consuming.
Yes.
Where when you're not home and you're going so out of your way to make sure you're living this non-toxic lifestyle that like the stress alone sometimes can almost be more toxic.
Right. No, yeah, I love that you brought this up. We actually have a Toss the Toxins course on our website that has 12 different modules, and one of them is emotions. And we tell people be kind to yourself. And I'm not just saying that, oh, be kind to yourself. No, really, meet yourself where you are. Don't come home one day and be the weirdo mom who's going to throw everything out. Don't even get your kids or your husband involved. Go clean out your cabinets, things you're not using. Create more space for each person in your family, including yourself, to heal, because knowing that even just removing or stopping the purchase of scented products that are carcinogenic, they're obesogens, they are asthmagens, they are endocrine disruptors. Even just removing those things, you haven't even changed anyone's diet. No one even has to know about things yet. You have already given your entire family a liver cleanse. So just start slow. If the pantry is something that excites you the most, go there. Flip the cartons around and look at the boxes around and look at the ingredients. If that overwhelms you, don't go there yet. Right. And so it becomes addictive in a very positive way because you will feel the shifts. And a lot of times it will take a sick child or a sick husband to get into this lifestyle. But then when you see that everyone else in the family has improved, maybe your husband, I love using this example because we've heard this before, like the husband's all of a sudden running a faster mile because like the product's in his house, like that he had no idea. Or the mom has dropped 13 or 14 pounds just by changing the kids' diet because everyone else in the house is eating differently. And it's because all of these chemicals have been sequestered into fat cells to protect against organ damage. And all of a sudden we get rid of the chemicals and we're detoxing and we don't need those fat cells anymore. So we're losing this stubborn weight. So there's always going to be, I could go on and on and on about, the mental health and the brain fog and the irritability. All of these things are linked to the toxins in the home. So just know that you're not, when you start on this lifestyle course, there's the upside always is bigger. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. And if it is, then take a deep breath, take a step back, remind yourself why you're doing it, give yourself that why, and move on to the next, if it's plastics, if it's if your tap water needs to be filtered, really think about what doesn't overwhelm you. And then when you leave your home, don't worry about the exposures because we know that we're going back to a home that has been cleaned, that we can rest assured that our liver and gallbladder, they're the ones that clear during the night, so as long as our bedding and our room is free of these toxic chemicals, like don't worry about going to your friend's house or the kids being at school. There's just only so much we can control.
They're walking into a store where it's just like heavily fragrance or an Uber with those air fresheners.
Oh, the
and
Ubers.
You're like,
yeah. My 2-hour drive here yesterday, I was like, okay.
You're like, can you throw that out, please? Yeah. They should really be banned. Are you okay if we just do a rapid fire product recommendation on some things? And I feel like I'm so curious to know what you use for your skin.
Yeah.
Tell me you use Branch Basics.
No, not really. I mean,
Okay.
I will.
Can you?
You can for sure. Like on my body, like on this trip, I just use Range Basics to wash my body.
Wait, what one?
I
Do
use
you
the
use
foamer.
the foaming wash?
I use the foamer.
Because
Yeah.
one of the girls on our team uses this to wash her face. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I wouldn't say over time it's the best because of the pH. I mean, you really want to make sure that you're not stripping your skin, and it is a gentle surfactant,
Okay.
you know. But for eye makeup removal
appreciate
and
that.
yeah, for sure. I wouldn't recommend it if you're like wanting to have really great skin. I mean, it's going to be a little too harsh over
Okay.
time.
So what
Yeah.
do you use? Like
Um,
moisturizer.
Moisturizer. Okay, so I'm really into this new, it's not a new brand. It used to be called Luminance, and now it's called Lucera, Lucera. And I especially love that it's not scented with any sort of essential oils because I'm sensitive to that right now. Primely Pure is amazing. They have wonderful
They have great
skincare
stuff.
line. There's a company called Toups & Co., Toups & Co. Their resurfacing mask, I mean, I just like, let's just take a moment for this mask. I could drink it. I mean, y'all, it's like spirulina and raw honey and clay. I mean, I just
I
like
wanna try it.
slurp it up. I love it so much. I keep things really simple, and then I use a
Like
lot
what
of
makeup?
oils. So for makeup, I'm using Toups & Co. I just recently switched everything because we did a 2019 vet of all the top brands, and I was an Elia girl, and I had all these, great brands that I was using, and then there were some formulation switches. And so I'm currently using the Ogi, I think
Yeah.
how we pronounce it,
Yeah.
with the complexion sticks, and Toups & Co., and then like Primely Pure lip gloss.
And
like,
what
I mean, I'm pretty,
mascara?
what mascara am I using? Toups & Co., I want to
Okay.
say. Yeah, I'm pretty much using all their stuff right now.
Okay.
I keep it pretty simple.
No, I like that. And that's a brand I've never heard of.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Family owned, live in the South. They have they homeschool their 6 kids. And I love supporting companies like that, but like their products are legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What shampoo and conditioner?
Carina, Carina. Yeah. And I mean, we're a whole Carina family. I think it's Canadian based, but like we buy like
The big
the
tubs.
gallon.
Okay, done.
Yeah, we just go through it. Yeah.
Body wash.
Body wash, I usually use Dr. Bronner's Baby Mild.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Me
my
too.
husband's a big bar soap guy, so we just, and then I'll use our new gel hand soap is awesome.
Oh, I haven't used that.
It's really, really great. It has meadow foam oil and aloe. It's really moisturizing, but it does come in a glass bottle, and so
Okay.
it's just not the best for the shower, but I do love that. Actually, when this podcast launches, we would
Yes.
have just launched our new laundry powder, which is super
Oh.
top secret at this moment, but it's going to be amazing. And it has taken us, guys, I'm just embarrassed to tell you how long it's taken us, but because right now we recommend
can
people
use
use the
this
concentrate and
and
the
the
oxygen
oxygen
boost, and
boost.
it's amazing, but people want
One
their
thing.
powder. They want one thing. And I get it. And so we're meeting them where they are, but it's in this process, it's been so eye-opening to see how hard it is to create a truly clean product that seems so simple. And the thing that sets our laundry product apart, and y'all, laundry is such a big deal. If you change one thing, fire your exterminator and then go to your laundry room.
Okay, I want to talk about exterminator.
Exterminator.
And
but
what do you do for like?
well, to
tick
finish the
spray?
laundry really quick, it's you don't want any ethoxylated alcohols in your laundry. And so most of the non-toxic cleaning products and the laundry that they provide, laundry care they provide, have ethoxylates in them. Ethoxylates usually have 1,4-dioxane, which is a carcinogen. And again, that's the pillowcase, the crib sheets, the towels. So you really want to make sure your laundry, and again, that's not a hard
We
thing.
need to punch that teaser
know?
out. Like everyone needs to know that.
That's a big one.
That's
So, and then you had just said something.
Exterminator, like tick spray and all that stuff. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And you don't do chlorine in
I'm
a pool?
like, I mean, I've had Lyme for like 35 years. So like you're coming from someone, in fact, I just posted the other day about getting a tick off my body
No.
in Nantucket. Probably most definitely had Lyme. So yeah, I have been able to basically put all my Lyme symptoms. I don't even call myself a victim of Lyme anymore through my lifestyle, but I very much can relate to anyone that has dealt with Lyme disease. It is horrific. And so I still would tell you, though, that having an exterminator, pesticides are the number one underminer of all of our health efforts. They seek lipid-dense areas, which is why they affect the brain, which is the fattiest part of our body. They're directly related to not only cancer, but you have ALS and Parkinson's and childhood cancer. I think childhood cancer raised 28% the year that pesticides was introduced into the home. So we have an entire list on our website of basically alphabetical order from ants to zebra. No, I don't know, whatever Z is, but of how to treat them using non-toxic methods, because you should not live in a house with roaches or spiders or ticks or anything. This is not what we're saying. But when you really break down what the exterminator is coming in and spraying, it's just not worth it. And talk about insidious. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. You would never know if he was here right before the podcast, Right. And so I would say number one is looking into pesticides you're using. Diatomaceous earth is wonderful. I mean, you have pesticide companies that really that are more integrative, that can get ahead of the pests versus just coming in and treating them.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. Essential oil-based pesticides can be really helpful.
So like essential oil-based, like diffusers?
We say no.
You do? Why?
We say no because most essential oils contain, especially things like in diffusers, they're not wildcrafted. They contain toxic solvents, and they have been shown to have hormone disrupting properties. And so we are pretty big on fragrance free. And if you're going to use an essential oil, just make sure that it's super high quality. It's a pretty adulterated industry at this point.
What ones do you like?
I honestly don't even really use essential oils. Right now I'm using some peppermint oil from doTERRA. I mean, doTERRA and Young Living are kind of the top. But anything wildcrafted and organic is key with essential oils. And you don't need much.
Right.
People say, oh, well, they're so much more expensive. I'm like, it's worth it to just buy that.
Bit.
Yeah.
And you dilute it.
Yes, for sure.
Which you do, which I love because this lasts forever, by the way.
Yes, people that run through their concentrate, I'm like, guys, y'all are
using too much.
I mean, you just need a very small amount.
A tiny amount. And then add the water.
I use less than we even recommend. And people say, oh my gosh, the starter kit's so expensive. It's $75. I'm like, yeah, but you get 3 all-purpose bottles and 3 window and glass and 3 bathroom bottles and 3 foamer bottles, and you do 64 loads of laundry, and you're now at around a conventional priced bottle. You're around less than $3 for an all-purpose bottle once it's diluted. So it's pretty economical, and you're never buying another bottle again, right? I mean, once you have the kit, all you're doing is buying the concentrate, so there's no single-use plastic. Yeah.
Right, which is so genius.
Yeah, or we use the glass, but anyway, you can do glass or plastic.
No, that's so great. Okay, deodorant. I just need a few more.
Primally Pure, the best.
Okay.
Hands down the best.
And it works?
It works. It really works. I will say Kelly got rid of her body odor in 2009. I still have body odor. I'm like, that's really great for you. And I use their unscented. Okay. My husband uses their charcoal. But it works on him too.
Okay,
so
amazing.
It's great. Yeah.
And what nail polish? Because I see you have a color on your toes.
Yes. This is it's like one of those 21 free something. I don't even know the brand. And this is like 4-month-old toes right here.
I decided because I had my gels off for a year.
Yeah.
They're, as you can see, on the way out. And I'm like, I'm taking them off.
You know what's interesting when you stop doing your nails?
These are very toxic.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
And your bodies, you're just like,
it's on your hands,
it, guys.
And it's absorbable for sure. But I noticed when I used to get manicures all the time, and now I haven't gotten one, and I can't even remember how long. But I don't have to get them anymore. It's like the cuticles don't grow down. Like they don't need to be cut anymore. I'm like, wow, it was easier. It was almost like harder when I was getting them regularly. They needed it. Yeah.
Okay. So Botox.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Yeah, I'm just a no never.
You don't?
Girl, no. Oh
you look your skin like it's crazy.
Oh, that's so sweet. See,
no,
I'm finally at that point.
That you look like I'm just like your skin is so amazing that I'm like,
oh my goodness. Well, thank you for saying that because I'm at a low point with my skin right now with melasma from pregnancy, so I really appreciate that. But I will say I'm 38 and I have honestly never thought that much about skin in terms of like wrinkles or aging. And I'm going to be really honest here. Recently, I'm like, oh gosh, everyone around me looks really young. Mm-hmm. And I know just for me personally that I will never get Botox. I'll never get fillers. So I've been telling my husband, I'm like, I got to step this up. So I've been using red light therapy. Bon Charge. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm like, it's a B, Bon Charge. Andy,
Charge
I'm sorry. He's the owner. He's like, come on, say it.
I love Bon Charge, and they have an amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Their matte.
They're matte.
Phenomenal.
Their mask. I just absolutely love their stuff. It's really high quality. And then I'm talking, this is like in the past 4 months. I really think gua sha is a thing.
Oh,
I used to think, I don't know.
No, it does.
So it does. So what I do in the
day.
morning, I'll do the big 6, like, which is basically like we have on our website, but you're doing like all your 6 lymphatic points. And then I do the gua, and then I do the gua sha. And I'm
4,
like, okay.
5. Where's the 6?
Back of your knee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Under.
So it's
here.
It's here. And then it's collarbone. And then it's the
armpit.
Wings. And
Groin.
then a little bit of the belly.
Oh.
A little bit of belly is what Dr. Nicholson, who's some lymphatic, expert, you can go to his 3-day course.
Oh, okay.
And then where your
groin,
and then the backs of the knees, and
then
you shake it out.
Here.
Oh, okay. Need to add a 7th.
Yeah, I do that too.
Okay.
Just from my lymphatic drainage girl, she said here is really important. The inner.
Oh, and they know.
They know.
They know. A good one knows.
The Brazilians really know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I kind of shake it out, and then I do my gua sha, because I've listened to a lot of experts say, look, you can do gua sha, but if your drains aren't open,
you have to flush.
You got to flush it out.
You have to. You want to tap before, and then you do it. It's the
I
same
used
thing.
to think these things are so silly. It's not really going to work. But I'm like, okay, I think this is working.
Oh no, it does. And I'll be honest with you, I do a little bit of baby Botox a couple times a year, but I'm one of those that kind of battles where I'll be like, I'm done, and then I won't, and then I'm like the same thing.
Yep.
Where I'm like, oh, everyone's looking real good and real.
Well,
and then,
listen, if that's your thing,
influence. Like I'm just like, okay, maybe just like a little, and then I'm like, I don't need it. It's like this weird thing.
Yeah, you go through stages. And listen, if that's your thing, then you should compensate in other areas and make sure that the exterminator's gone. It's a whole load thing. I'm not sitting here saying, okay, if you're going to get Botox, blah, blah, blah. I've researched it. I'm like, it's not for me. But I think it's just, you have to meet yourself where you are. And if that's a thing for you, then start somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. I love your approach. It's so approachable, but it just feels, I know we said even some things and called out some brands, like there's really no judgment.
Yeah.
It's all just like an eye-opening perspective.
Yes.
For people to really gain awareness.
Yeah.
And to
listen,
be
we hope other brands will copy us. You know what I mean? I mean, we want to set a standard that's higher. We want to see other brands thrive. We want to see industry step up and say, I don't need to do this. I can spend a few extra months formulating. I mean, this formula right here took us, over 100 iterations, a year and a half to come up with, but we did it, and we don't have to use any toxic preservatives. I mean, the chemists and scientists, they were like, you want a unicorn. We can't do this for you. And we persisted, and it got done. And our number one priority is to do no harm. But it's got to clean your freaking house. Yeah, I mean, you can sell ice to an Eskimo, but they're not going to come back if your stain isn't coming out, you know? And so industry is very quick to go for the convenience and for the cheap. But I really think with education that consumers are willing to pay a little bit more if they know that it's safe for themselves and for their family.
Amen.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm so grateful that you're here.
I'm so honored to be here.
8 months pregnant with your 4th, and you're such a force.
Thank you.
Your story is incredible, and it's just, it's one of those things that I think brings me back to, when people are like, I don't know what I'm meant to do, or I don't know my passion. But when you just tap in to the things that almost wake you up to what life is worth living, and you kind of just strip it all back, and you get to the core of what matters most to you.
Yes.
And it's your health, your family.
And it always ends up helping other people, whether you want to or not, whether you see it or not. People are starving for information, for truth, to feel better. Even when we think, oh, I'm fine, I feel healthy. It's like, well, what is healthy? Are we really mentally healthy? Are we sleeping well? Are we, And so I think when we can set an example for other people, a lot of times we're doing it and we don't even realize it.
Right. It's so true.
It's especially, I mean, that's you. I mean, you know that. I mean, I feel like so many women have been positively influenced. You really are a joy bomb. You are. I mean, I like don't even use that phrase. And I was posting about you the other day. I was like, it's just so much joy. I don't even know her, but I feel like I do. Honestly, you're such a breath of fresh air. And your story and where you came from, you live life from that. It's like you remember that and you appreciate that. And that shows in everything you do. And it's awesome. Following you is just like one of the joys of me getting on Instagram, because I usually post and ghost, but when I see a red circle around MWH, I'm like, what is she up to?
Oh my God, you made me
It's
emotional.
true though.
Thank you.
I mean, who stays in this amazing hotel in Paris and actually it does it in a way where I'm like, oh my gosh, she has so much gratitude and joy, and I want to just be there with her, you know, and you're still up working out, and I'm just like, this is beauty.
You're so sweet. You can never forget where you came from.
No.
Right?
But people do.
I know.
That's what's so sad. People do.
I've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah.
And even with people I love. And you know what? There has been, I think, even moments in my own life, if I'm going to be really honest, where I've had these moments where maybe I've said things and, you know, my husband pulled me aside and said, what you just said, I know isn't you.
Yeah.
But the way it came off, and I'm like, thank you. Like to be with people who check you and keep you grounded.
We have good husbands.
We have really good husbands.
It's so true. Oh, because I for sure have my moments. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, it's the good partner that will look at you and say, oops, that's not you.
It's not you. And, you know, I think it's always important to remember in life that you can be here one moment and you can be here the next. So,
and to forgive yourself.
And to just be who you are.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So sweet.
Thank you so much.
You're such a joy.